What's up, guys? It's Eli here with Night Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm here with my good friend Gavin Wageman. We're up here at Sauer Experience Center, specifically the Self-Defense Training Center up here at Sauer. This is kind of a new addition. This place is obviously a tactical Disneyland. It's got all the guns and gear and ranges and all kinds of shoot houses, all kinds of cool stuff here. But the newest addition here is the Self-Defense Training Center. So you got the mats here, they do a lot of jiu-jitsu, and that's where this guy comes in. Now, I thought that I would make a video while I'm up here with him. We're up here doing a Knife Control Concepts course. Not what we're gonna talk about necessarily in this video. We're actually gonna talk about, if you didn't notice, he's quite a bit larger and more substantial than I am. So something that I get lots of questions of. And it's always something that, especially in the early days and forever on, you're always wondering, how do I get out from underneath side control, getting smashed by a large individual like this? So I'm going to share some of the things with me. Now, obviously, it's not this easy. I'm going to simplify this as much as possible, but it's, some of this is going to be overly simplified. But I feel like these are some ways in which we can prevent from getting smashed terribly, or at least get out of the situation as we're getting smashed. I like to go from early to late stage. So if I catch him kind of early coming in, so essentially what's happened is that Gavin has passed my guard, right? So it's kind of like the stages of grief. I have to kind of accept, like first there was guard play, and then there was guard retention, then there was pass prevention, and finally he passes, and I have to accept that. So as he's coming in, I don't want this arm to get a crossface on me. This is when life gets really horrible. So I'm trying to establish this frame, and on this frame, I'm trying to splay my fingers. I'm trying to touch this pinky back toward his ribs and my elbow toward his ribs in the front to staple that arm. Now, the strength of this actually comes from a lot of my spine, right? So the strength here, if I sit up to look at this, he's gonna collapse it fairly easily. If I keep my head back and away, it's a lot harder. So he runs into that structure, and it's very difficult for him to do that. So when he sees he's gonna have a very difficult time, sometimes he'll take a path of less resistance. So what that looks like is he starts to retract his arm away. So now, and that's so that maybe he can come back the same angle or throw it to the other side or whatever. So feeling that, if I start to feel him doing that, as he starts to retract, I'm gonna take my supporting hand that was formerly framing here by his neck, and I'm gonna chase it. So I'm gonna take my Lego-shaped hand, and I'm gonna go right into the well of his elbow, right in that antecubital space. My previous hand that was framing is gonna drive down to the floor here like this, and I'm gonna get on my elbow. So this is gonna be similar to a Turkish get-up with a kettlebell. And so I'm gonna push this elbow 90 degrees behind his spine. And whenever I start to do that, it's gonna start to collapse his structure. Now, if he wants to maintain his body in this orientation, like as it is right now, when I go to push this, what's gonna happen is I'm gonna wind up pushing him all the way over this way. And it's not necessarily contingent on his weight, because he's essentially right in the center of my body. It becomes a teeter-totter kind of effect. So it's not necessarily contingent on his weight, because at a certain point of imbalancing, he becomes fairly weightless. So again, we're here like this. I'm keeping him from getting underneath. I'm framing. As he goes to retract that arm away, I'm gonna chase it here. So I'm gonna punch my arm this way. I'm gonna get into the well of his elbow, push his elbow 90 degrees behind his spine. While that's happening, this leg here, the one that's flattened down here like this, is actually gonna start sliding up more under his hip, and that's gonna become the fulcrum for that teeter-totter. So as I continue to push and I put that leg more underneath his hip and I post up on my elbow, what tends to happen is now he's in my lap. So now he's pretty weightless essentially right here, even though he's much larger than I am. And this arm, the remaining part of this arm, can actually scoop underneath the leg, and I can cradle him all the way across. Now, the cool thing about this is that even as we do this, even if I lose the arm, so I chase it here, but I miss it, and he takes the arm to the other side, I'm just gonna keep on sitting up like this. So we wind up in a little bit more of an octopus style orientation here. Again, he's still across my lap. I still have my leg underneath him as a fulcrum for that teeter-totter effect, and now I'm still gonna take this arm and scoop underneath his leg, drive my elbow over to the floor, and again, I take him over that direction, even without the arm this time. So that style of getting up, and again, like I'd call it a Turkish get up, if I were doing like a kettlebell here this way, I'm posting up on the elbow, rocking my shoulder over my elbow this direction, and then I'm gonna continue to build up this way. Slightly different than a Turkish get up, but it looks so much like it that I still refer to it like that. Now, you may ask yourself, okay, that's fine and dandy as long as he doesn't have the crossface. What happens when he gets the crossface on you? Again, life gets a lot harder. If he gets here and he successfully now gets this crossface, he's smashing my chin over my shoulder like this, and everything sucks, right? And to make things, now, let's not make this horrible yet, if I can get my frame in by his hip, with my forearm here like this, and my other frame underneath his neck, life isn't quite as bad because now he's driving more into my frames than he is into my actual face, neck, shoulders, everything else. So in this case here, now I can start bringing my feet in nice and close to my butt and bridging into him. Now, if you're like me and maybe you have back issues and I'm not able to really bridge really super successfully, then you can do a double bridge. A double bridge looks like this, where I bring my feet as close as I can, then I hop my hips one time and get my feet even closer. Now I've got a much more substantial bridge. I'm going to bridge into him this way. As I come back down, my butt doesn't come directly straight back down. It comes away from his body this way here. And then I'm going to bring my bottom shin inside here this way, just for a standard kind of guard replacement. Now, on this guard replacement, because of how my hands were, one was framed on his hip, one was framed on his neck, so that means that his arm that was cross-facing me is still between my two arms. So a little bonus that we can get if I play my cards right is as I push my knee and my shoulder away from each other, this arm is going to come up. I'm going to take my thumb over toward my shoulder. I'm going to go wrist to wrist or gable grip at least. And as I push myself away over to this side here, this like this, I'm going to find my foot and his hip on the remaining side. I'm going to escape this leg the rest of the way. And then I'm going to come up and I'm going to pinch his shoulder between my two knees. At this point here, I'm going to slide back. I want to try to catch his wrist here between my shoulder and my ear. And then I'm going to hug the rest of the way over the elbow with this folded arm grip like this. So we're getting this arm crush or this urigatami. Or if I play my cards right, I can use the knee and get a hizagatami. So either way, I'm coming in, crunching up like this to try to hyperextend that elbow. That's all off of replacing the guard from side control. A little bit more greedy of an escape rather than just replacing the guard. But even if I don't get the arm from here and I bridge in, at least from here, I can start working back. I don't get the arm, at least I got my guard back, and then things aren't as bad as they were prior to that. Now, let's make things even worse. So, yeah, God, this is awful here like this. Gavin weighs 423 pounds. I don't. And so at this point here, I lost my frames. He's smothering in like this, very tight, very heavy. One of my desperation escapes that actually works fairly well for me is this right here. So he's pushing me essentially up on my side. Not what I want. I'd prefer for my hips to be facing him. But I've got to make do with what I have. I'm actually going to walk away even farther. And what's going to tend to happen, he's going to tend to keep on shrinking that space back up. So as I'm walking away, I'm going to take my top leg here in this orientation, and I want to kick it back like I'm trying to heel him in the butt, right? Now, what happens when I heel him in the butt, I find that space between his foot and his butt right there. So I'm hooking my foot, my shoelace is inside his ankle. At that point here now, I start to walk my foot out, and that's going to laterally straighten his leg because it's putting that lateral pressure on his knee, and his knee doesn't tend to bend that way. So to relieve some of that pressure, he has to start letting his knee slide off the floor sometimes. And when I feel that start to happen, I'm going to take my remaining foot and I want to tuck it underneath my first leg. So now my shoelaces of that foot are actually on his quad above his knee, right? So now what this is doing in this process, because of how it's straightening his knee, he's starting to relinquish some of the pressure here by necessity. So I'm going to start working my hands back in, getting my frames back, but rather than going back to just a traditional guard replacement, I'm going to keep my butterfly hook inside. I'm going to take my first leg, my top leg that I hooked it first, and I'm going to start retracting it, pushing myself away this direction, and then getting my knees back inside. And again, same thing, I'm going to pull my knees and my shoulders apart from each other here this way, and then maybe I can get the arm, or maybe it just gets to a point where I maintain the frame here, post up on my elbow, frame away, and then get back to some kind of seated guard or butterfly guard. So we looked essentially at 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 3.5 to 4 options about how I can get out from underneath a behemoth like Gavin here, and that's some ways that at least can help you prevent from getting completely smashed and obliterated, and hopefully get you escaped, and maybe even pull you out of submission at the end if you're lucky. So hopefully these are helpful. I also have an instructional with BJJ Fanatics all about escaping and attacking from bottom side control, where I look at similar escapes to these escapes and beyond, and then also how to throw up submissions from kind of Hail Mary positions like that, bottom triangles, and all kinds of cool stuff. So if you are up here in New Hampshire, where are we? Exeter?
Yeah, we're in Epping, New Hampshire. 233 Exeter Road.
Okay, that's where I got confused.
Sauer Academy.
Yeah, so Epping, New Hampshire, if you're ever remotely in this area and you want to see an amazing place, if you have any inclination about guns and gear and combatives and everything else, make sure that you hit up the Sig Sauer Experience Center. Look this guy up here. So he is here training. He's got classes running all the time. They're always having cool people come in, like Knife Control Concepts, like me, Aaron Giannetti, and Mike Cheney. And then also a lot of other cool seminars going on all the time as well. So we really appreciate you hooking this up for us, brother. Yeah, this has been awesome. And yeah, I appreciate you guys watching Night Jiu-Jitsu.